Hello and welcome to the Ferg Neil Show podcast. Thank you to everybody who came to my Sydney show. That was weird. That was a weird show off the back of a fun tour. I came in contact with a crowd and it felt like the Voldemort spell in Harry Potter. You know when the spell is like the audience and me were like fighting one another. But it was like my autism versus their autism, and we're going to see who came out on top with the Tiz Riz. But I think we all had a fun time. Sometimes those shows are better than sometimes I can just turn up, do a show, and it's fun. But sometimes you turn up, you do a show, and it's weird, and the weirdness makes it better in the end. So that was fun. Thank you so much to everybody who came to that. I'm in Brisbane, June 1. Now, the Australian media is perishing quickly and it's sinking and no one's shucking a lifeline. Channel 7 is at its waist. Bruce Lehman's next to it dying. That SAS officer who committed war crimes also perishing. And then there's the rest of the media landscape just desperately throwing darts at a board and hoping that something hits. And we saw that on Sky News this week, when a young man from the Northern Territory, a 19-year-old, he won $1 million because he caught a fish. And Pete Stefanovic on Sky News got him on the show and brought up that this young man had stolen a golf buggy when he was 15 years old. Now, if you watch the clip, and I'll ask my editor if we can play it. We're not sure because sometimes Sky News, they go hard on the copyright. You'd be surprised what the free speech warriors don't want you speaking about. Everybody wants free speech until you're getting targeted, you know? Everybody wants free speech until someone calls me fungus. I'm like, guys, don't call me fungus, all right? I'm a dictator. You're gone. You're snuffed. Your tiki torch has been evaporated. One thing that fish and Pete Stefanovic both have in common is they have $1 million hook in their mouth, except at least the fish's line isn't connected to its brother. The only reason Pete is relevant is because of Carl Stefanovic, truly. Like when I first saw Pete Stefanovic, I'm like, is that just Carl Stefanovic with leprosy? That's what I thought. I'm like, is that just not a leper version of Carl Stefanovic? And Carl Stefanovic, you got to hand it to him. He has a fun personality. And then you cross over to Sky News and Pete Stefanovic is over there. There's like crows flying all around him. He's like, today in Sky News, we're talking about the tram network. You're like, the tram network? No, I'm talking about the trans network. You're like, oh no, he's talking about the trans network and it's not going to be uplifting. Sky News is never an uplifting story. You never tune into Sky News and go, oh man, everything in the world is good. In Sydney, I went on Friendly Geordie's podcast. I got off a Rex flight and I straight away went to his studio. And I thought that we were recording for this podcast. I thought Friendly Geordie's was coming on my podcast. And I got there and there was like 17 cameras. Miss Love was there and I was on their podcast. And I only really realized when it started rolling. So when that podcast comes out, you'll see in my eyes, I'm like, oh, this isn't the Ferg Neil Show universe. This is the Friendly Geordie's universe. And I'm going to be answering questions about why the security is so lax when my guy is, he's living a Kendrick Lamar life. He's locked down in a bunker making videos while he's just having threats and punch shots taken at his life. That's why we need these good news stories, like a kid winning $1 million barramundi. That's why we need these positive, uplifting stories. And this kid winning the Barra version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it was up there with Ned Brockman crossing the Nullarbor. For me personally, that's how it felt. I'm like, this is so uplifting. In a time when Australia has some not great news stories coming out, and there is some social tension out there, shall we say. And then Sky News tries to be the moral arbiter of the culture. Sky News trying to be the moral arbiter of the culture is like Drake telling Epstein to stay away from playgrounds. That's right. I've got my finger on the cultural pulse. Kendrick Lamar, also known as K-Dot, is in a beef with Drake. And Drake ain't coming out on top. Drake's going to move to an island somewhere. I won't say which island. And he'll probably never make music again. Whenever I go for runs now, I just listen to rap beefs. Is that the only thing that's inspiring me to run? It used to be The Biggest Loser back in 2010, and now it's Kendrick Lamar roasting Drake, Drake roasting Kendrick back, and me going, guys, is this good for anybody? Is this good for anybody? It's like if I had a beef of another comedian, I reckon like third video in, we go, guys, this isn't serving anyone. It's like a nuclear bomb. Everybody's gone. Everybody is evaporated. It's interesting because you look at Sky News former employees, and it's like Sky News will spend so much time digging up stories on a 19-year-old. Like they'll dig up this dirt about him stealing a golf buggy. It's like Sky News, didn't you have, what's that guy's name? I don't want to get this wrong because the current climate of litigation. What is his name? It's Alan. Is it Alan Jones? Alan Jones. Isn't he under investigation for like... Alan Jones, fresh assault allegations emerged. Like, you hired Alan Jones, bro. You hired Alan Jones, who's got fresh allegations against him. All right, there's about 15 articles when I put in his name. Alan Jones reveals poor health, returns to Australia amid allegations. All right, so Sex Crime Squad informed a 2017 complaint against Alan Jones. Alan Jones' lawyer taking first steps towards... Okay, so there's a lot there on your former big dog, Alan Jones, and you're like, but what about that golf buggy? What about, it's like, didn't you hire a host who has sexual assault allegations? Yes, but what about the golf buggy? What about the buggy? And then naturally, Australia went Super Saiyan and was like, okay, it's too much. It's too much. By the way, this kid paid the money back for that buggy. And now, last night on TikTok, when I got back from Sydney, I was just like, you know, when you just catch a flight, you're just disassociating. Like, you're just like it's literally Pavlov's dog. You're just like a rat in a lab going and just taking in content. I was doing that last night. And then Pete's friend has come out and said Pete has also crossed a few lines during a night out in the Gold Coast. And the media wonders why Australians are turning off the television in record numbers. Each year, it drops off. Each year, it's like a Jenga game. We take out a piece and the media's like, can we hold on? Can we stay afloat? And I'm saying this, and if they ask me to go on Q&A, I'd go on immediately. I remember when I was 18 years old, first moved to Melbourne, and it's like, you know when you move somewhere, you have no friends, you know nobody, so I just went to Q&A as an audience member by myself. I must have been a nerd. Looking back, when I moved from Geelong to Melbourne, I must have been a nerd. Going to watch Q&A, how sad is that? Just in Q&A by myself, and they didn't even pick my question. They didn't even select my question. I can't remember what I asked. What was happening in 2015? It was actually a happy time. What happened? I feel like 2015 and 16 were the glory days. Like, you can tell by the music. The music on was like Pitbull. It's like, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And you're just like having a fun time, like dancing to Pitbull, like, woo, we're never going to experience inflation. And then all these wars break out. Inflation goes through the roof. The economy starts crumbling. Someone eats a bat. And you're like, what happened to Pitbull? Pitbull now has a 1,000-yard stare. He's not dancing anymore. I saw a video of Pitbull on TikTok. He was doing a TED Talk. Even Pitbull's taking stuff seriously. Pitbull's like, guys, we have to solve this conflict. It's like, Pitbull, weren't you in a nightclub in the Bahamas like 3 years ago? What happened to that, Pitbull? No one stays in their lanes anymore. Like, I'll come out with a DJ track and you guys would probably just shrug your shoulders. But yeah, I guess Ferg's doing comedic commentary and DJing now. Like, everything just has melded into the one algorithm of human consciousness. Maybe that's our final form. We just upload ourselves onto the computer and the algorithm is consciousness. Whoa, we're breaking some huge minefields right now. Guys, I'm in Brisbane June 1. Final show of the tour. I can't wait to be done with this material. Okay, I cannot wait. When I was doing this in Sydney, and by the way, Sydney crowd, that was a weird crowd, wasn't it? I know I kind of was gently pushing against you, but that was a weird crowd. Like, I'm used to having young people in the audience, it was like 20s and 30s, and this crowd we had like 40s, 50s, 60s. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They pay the same amount for a ticket, but it changes the vibe. Like, instead of being a comedy show, it's almost like a town hall meeting. Like, for stand-up, you need a cohesive audience. You need everybody to be on the same page. And it's hard to make fun of baby boomers and laugh at the boomers when there are like 6-year-olds in there who have retired. You know what I mean? Like, just psychologically, that is hard to do, I think. Brisbane, I think, will be biblical. Whenever I go to Brisbane, I have a fun time. Whenever I go to Brisbane, I'm like, this is monumental. This is changing the culture. Brisbane's weird because in Melbourne, everyone's like, Brisbane is backwards. Brisbane is the trenches, the pits. It's like, yeah, but they also have 2 green seats. I think when you say Brisbane, you're thinking of Townsville. I truly think that's what it is, because in the West End, you walk through the West End in Brisbane, you're like, all right. The whole suburb feels non-binary, and that's not a bad thing, but it does mean that it's more progressive. I don't think Bob Katter's winning elections in the West End. He's winning elections in the northern tip of Australia. I think Bob Katter came out last week and said they wanted to secede from Brisbane, and everyone's like, what? And then the media cycle just kept on going. At the moment, huge beef. All right? Huge beef, and I'm not just talking about between Australia and Pete Stefanovic, although he probably is the most hated journalist in Australia right now. Who tops that? Who tops that? When I was with Friendly Geordies, we're talking about that. It's like, who's the most hated journalist? Geordies thought it was Waleed Ali. I'm like, is Waleed Ali the worst? Like, why is he... And I get Geordies is like, well, he's so centrist and like he doesn't come hard on any line. It's like, yeah, but like I'd prefer him not being hard on any line than doing like an Alan Jones hard on that line. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there are worse journalists in the country than Waleed Ali. Truly. Like, there are worse. The Daily Mail, like, there are worse. When I left that podcast, and I had a really fun time, but there was definitely, when you, like, you leave a scenario and then, like, you're in your bed at night and you're like, oh, I should have said that. I should have brought that up, but I didn't. I just stared into the abyss. So when that podcast comes out, guys, you'll see me about 30 minutes in. The tiredness starts kicking. I've been up since 6 a.m. I've been on a Rex flight, so the turbulence was just... It was like you're in a washing machine where someone's on the on the monitor going, don't panic, guys, don't panic. Guys, I'm in Brisbane, June 1. How many times do I have to plug that for you guys to believe in it? It's actually almost sold out. Okay, so there was a rap battle happening between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Now, I've always been a Kendrick Lamar fan, and Drake has just kind of been a singer who comes on in the radio. You know what I mean? Like, he just kind of comes on my Spotify and I go through it. I'm like, oh, it's got it, but it seems kind of generic, Kendrick Lamar, you listen to the music, you're like, all right, I feel like I want to tackle a billionaire. You know what I mean? I want to sit in the back of the bus as a white dude. You know what I mean? Like, you want to do things that are going to hold up social justice. So October 2023, One for All the Dogs, which features on Drake's 8th album, J. Cole raps, love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K. Dot? Is it Aubrey or me? We the big 3 like we started a league. But right now, I feel like Muhammad Ali. And then 5 months later, Kendrick Lamar features on Future and Metro Booming song Like That and fires back at J. Cole's big 3 claims. He says, mother, flipper, big 3, N-word, it's just big me. So Kendrick sat on the big 3 diss for about 6 months, and then he came back hard. It's like if I was on the Friendly Geordies podcast last week and I'm like, that went well. And then 6 months later, Friendly Geordies posts a video and I'm in the thumbnail smiling. Like, that's that's the equivalent. If you turn up in a Friendly Geordies podcast, something is going down. It's like when Louis Theroux turns up to your church meetings. You're like, maybe this isn't a good church. If Louis Theroux's here, we've gone down the rabbit hole. And by the way, this is posted on ABC News. So these are your taxpayer money is going to this. And I'm actually happy about that. The comments on this is not happy about the ABC. They said defund the ABC, defund. It's like, guys, can the ABC do one article? This would have taken like 10 minutes to compile, all right? You're not losing that much money. The worst thing about the ABC complainers is I have friends who have never paid taxes in their life. They're like, we got to stop giving our money to the ABC. I'm like, you've given no money to the ABC. They'll be driving around. They'll be like, they need to fix these potholes. I'm like, you give no money to fix the potholes. They're like, yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Next slide. Then in April 5th, J. Cole releases a diss track. That's what these should be called, a dick track. It's just people slinging their dicks and being like, I am the biggest dick in the room. I have a friend called Spen, and whenever there's an awkward moment, he says, who's the alpha in the group? And it really resets the tone. You know what I mean? You look around and you think, physically, who is the alpha? J. Cole releases a diss track, 7-minute drill in response to Lamar. Then J. Cole deletes 7-Minute Drill and issues an apology to Lamar, saying the track was the lamest shit I did in my effing life. That's what I would do. If Friendly Jordy's released a video of me and I'm smiling in the thumbnail and it's like, Fergus Neal, destroyed. I would release a track and 7 minutes later I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So I respect J. Cole for pulling back. Then April 13, early versions of Drake's Push-Ups leak online, throwing punches at Rick Ross, Metro Boomin, Future The Weeknd, and Lamar. So he's just gone crazy. He's come out. It's like me being like, yo, Dave Hughes, Will Anderson, Tom Gleason. We're here for a real reason. Like, it's me coming out and taking on the big dogs. Except those three big, you know what I'm saying? Then April 19, 6 days later, Drake drops the official version of Push-Ups and Tailor-Made Freestyle, which uses AI to mimic the voices of Kendrick's idols, Tupac and Snoop Dogg, to goad Lamar into responding. Damn! April 26th, Tailor-Made Freestyle is taken down after Tupac's estate threatens to sue. I didn't know that. Wow. Lamar responds with a 6-minute track called Euphoria on April 30th. That track is unbelievable. I was listening to that the whole time in Sydney. It rained for like 3 days in Sydney, and I'm doing comedy gigs, and then during the day just walking around the Harbour Bridge staring into space. And I'm like, this is saving my life right now. You know, Euphoria saved my life when I was in Sydney. May 3rd, Lamar follows up with a 616 in LA, pulling Drake's entire record label, OVO, into line of fire with claims there's a mole in Drake's camp. Fans speculate the single Black Glove on the cover art alludes to the O.J. Simpson trial, and the title references the date of Nicole Brown Simpson's funeral. This is better than the Da Vinci Code already. May 3rd, Drake releases his third diss track, Family Matters. I listened to that one, in which he alleges Lamar has committed domestic abuse and accuses Lamar's fiancée, Whitney Alford, of infidelity. He said, your baby mama captions always screaming, save me. You did her dirty all your life. You trying to make peace. I heard that one of them little kids might be Dave Free. Whoa. So essentially, this is like if I said, yo, Hughesy, your son is my son. I think that's the equivalent. If we're looking at Australian comedy versus American rap, if I said, yo, Hughesy, your little son is my son, that actually feels super disrespectful to Hughesy. I retract that immediately. I'm so sorry, Hughesy. May 3rd, less than an hour later. Whoa. So he probably had a finger on the button. He was like, oh, Kim Jong-un, waiting for the release. He's like, we're waiting and we're going to press this nuke button. Less than an hour later, Lamar releases Meet the Grahams, speaking directly to Drake and members of his family. In it, he claims Drake has a secret daughter and sex offenders on his payroll. Lamar said he got sex offenders on HOVO that he keep on a monthly allowance. Holy. Drake dismisses the hidden daughter allegations in a post to his Instagram stories. May 4th. Are we almost up to real time? Lamar drops Not Like Us, doubling down on allegations that Drake and people in his camp are predators. Why are you trolling like a bitch? Ain't you tired trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor? Whoa. So essentially what he's saying there is that Drake's striking a chord, and there is a chord in piano. I don't know if there are any pianists out there, any aspiring musicians or pianists, but you will come across this chord called A minor. And what Lamar has done is he has provoked Drake by using a double entendre of the chord A minor with someone who is below the age of 18. Its cover art is a satellite image of Drake's Toronto mansion, peppered with red pins used on maps marking the homes of registered sex offenders. Damn! Damn! That's crazy. This is the least white I've ever felt. Guys, or the most white, we'll never know. But this is... Does this keep going? Yes. May 5th. Drake follows up with The Heart, Part 6, addressing a number of the allegations thrown by Lamar and claims the Pulitzer Prize winner was fed false information. You waited for this moment, overcome with the desperation. We plotted for a week and then we fed you the information. A daughter that's 11 years old, I bet he takes it. We thought about giving a fake name or a destination, but you so thirsty you're not concerned with investigation. Damn! Someone should send that exact same line to Peter Stefanovic. I'm going to DM this to Peter Stefanovic. All right, I'm going to Peter Stefanovic. Is he on Instagram? Pete Stefanovic, where are you? All right? I'm DMing you this now. We will find you, PT. P. Dot. Pete, All right, Pete Stefanovic. Has he got an Instagram? Yes, I've got more followers than him, baby. He's got 40,000. Pete Stefanovic lawyer. Damn it! Why is there a guy called Pete Stefanovic lawyer? Where is okay, I can't find them normal. Okay, when I find Pete's after this podcast, when I find this motherfucker, I will DM him. You waited for this moment, Pete, overcome with the desperation. We plotted for a week and then we fed you the information. A daughter that's 11 years old, I bet he takes it. A barramundi caught off the reef, $1 million. Oh, damn, he stole it. His name was... We thought about giving a fake name or a destination, but you so thirsty, you bought the golf buggy situation. You're not concerned with investigation. Now let's see if he takes the bait. Huge. Huge for the community. Right now, it feels like the African-American community in America, it's like, guys, it's imploding. Everybody's going for it. Everybody is sending it. Everybody, since the Will Smith slap opened up a vortex that all the rappers are falling into and comedians are just falling into this supernova. And I wonder, do we come back from this? Do we come back from this? I don't know why I'm saying we as if I'm part of the community, but I just want to be involved. You know what I mean? Do we come back from this as a community? This might be one of the funnest podcasts we've ever done. I hope the recording's on. Sometimes whenever I record a Ripper podcast, it's not recorded and then I have to do it a second time and the energy is much, much lower. Guys, I'm doing a Brisbane show, June 1, final show of the tour. Fergus Neal saves the world. If you love this podcast, tell your friends about it. We're growing. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. My name's Fergus Neal, and this is the Ferg Neal Show podcast.